Hi there, this is Datila with Rangers of Wrestling Mania's Wrestling Time Post Show, and for tonight I'm reviewing both AEW Rampage and Friday Night Smackdown. Let's kick things off with AEW Rampage. Alright, so AEW Rampage started off with the titles versus the trademark match. Alright, so how we got into this, remember, Mark Sterling took the scissor me trademark, meaning that the Acclaim could no longer use it, and so he basically pretty much forced them into this match in order for them to get that trademark back. So this was the Acclaim versus the Varsity Athletes, which is Josh Woods and Tony Nese. So as you guys know, Max Caster raps every time he enters the ring, and in his rap he mentioned how AEW won the ratings war on Tuesday. Yes, AEW Dynamite beat NXT. It was close. It was really close. Honestly, it was. And just as they were about to do the scissor me, Smart Mark Sterling stopped the Acclaim from doing the scissor me because Murray owns the copyright, the trademark, I should say. And he says that they will give the people of Jacksonville what they want, even though they don't deserve it. And just as they were going to do their version of the scissor me, the Acclaim attacked them. Smart Mark Sterling managed to get Billy Gunn ejected from the ringside. And this is actually a pretty good match. Of course, the Acclaim is victorious. They were going to get that trademark back. There was no way the Varsity Athletes were going to take those titles from the Acclaim. And just as they were going to do the scissor me, Smart Mark Sterling says that just because they won doesn't mean that they're getting that trademark back. He still has the paperwork. Billy Gunn comes back out. And then they do like the whole scissor me thing. Sterling scissored me timbers, as it's called, and then they do the scissor gesture. So a great way to kick off AEW Rampage. I really enjoyed the match. Then we get a Jade Cargill segment. Jade Cargill sit-down interview. They're talking about how Penelope Ford got injured, so she had to have Layla Gray take Penelope Ford's place in her match against Willow Nightingale. And Jade Cargill starts talking about how she is a woman, a professional woman of her word, and she will get the chance to get in the ring with Nyla Rose, and she will make a deal to get her title back. They got Layla. So, seems like this is going to be the next feud. I'm not sure how I feel about it. So, we'll see. Then we get a quick segment with Eddie Kingston, the Lucha Brothers, and Ortiz. Ortiz saying that he's worried about Eddie Kingston. He thinks he's out of control. The Lucha Brothers told him that they just don't want him to lose his job. Pac telling Kingston he needs to compose himself. And they're referring to when Eddie Kingston actually had Sammy Guevara beat, and then because he wouldn't let go of the submission hold, the referee reversed the decision, and Sammy Guevara ended up beating Eddie Kingston. So it seems like they were trying to stage an intervention here. But we never got a follow-up to that feud, to that match. So I'm very curious to see what this leads to. We get the FD Championship match. It's Hook versus TrustFund Ari Daivari. Now, Ari Daivari kind of looking like the $1 Million Man, trying to buy that title off Hook. And he offered him a check, but now he offers him cold hard cash. And Hook just slaps the cash out of him, and the butler, Ari Daivari's butler, was like at ringside trying to cause a distraction. I really like that fisherman suplex to Daivari. Hook took out the butler, and he applied the red rum to Daivari, and he successfully retained his FTW championship, and he won by submission. And then the butler checked on Daivari, and he also got taken out. All right. We get a quick backstage segment with the firm. And this segment is funny in the sense that Matt Hardy starts rapping. I didn't know what he was saying, but he starts rapping. And all Ego, Ethan Page, and Stokely Hathaway were just looking at him like, what the heck? Which I thought was so hilarious. But the point of this segment was that Matt Hardy has a match. He has a match on Dark. And the private party is at a training facility to get rid of that Matt Hardy stench. So I'm pretty sure the original storyline was supposed to be Matt Hardy buying private party from Andrade, but because Andrade got sent home, now it got shifted to the firm. So I'm assuming the end game is to have Matt Hardy buy the contract of the private party from the firm. We get Willow Nightingale versus Leia Grey. This is a good match. I have to say I really liked it. And even with Kira Hogan at ringside, who attempted to grab the boot of Willow Girl, but then hit her with the trust kick, and she caused a distraction. It was not enough. Willow Nightingale is still picked up the win here. And we also found out that at the end of the match, Willow Nightingale is now All Elite. So she's officially part of the AEW roster. Now, Jade Cargill comes out with the steel chair. And she's not a member. She promised to take the show hostage. So she comes to the ring. This leads into another Jade Cargill segment. And she says she's a classic woman and not a bum-ass Steve. And will give Nyla Rose 10 seconds to bring her back the TBS title. And so then it cuts to the Titantron. And you see Nyla in Jade's car. And she starts singing Jade. And in the form, she's using the four non-blondes. What's going on? So not only did she take the belt, but she also stole Jade's car. And Jade ended up taking out security, who was trying to get her out of the ring. So yeah, it seems like to me like Nyla Rose is going to be Jade Cargill's next opponent. And I think Jade Cargill is still going to be victorious there. I think the one that's going to ultimately dethrone Jade is going to be Kris Statlander. And I think they're trying to stall until Kris Statlander comes back from injury and until Jade Cargill probably reaches her 50th win. So as you guys know, before the main event, we get a main event promo. And the promo was between Orange Cassidy, Roosh, and Preston 10 Vance. It was hilarious. Orange Cassidy just being Orange Cassidy in this promo. He welcomes everybody to Rampage, taking Mark Henry's job. Actually, he was right next to Mark Henry. And Mark Henry asked him why he had got this match happen. He says he has no idea, but he liked it. And then 10 says he's glad that Orange Cassidy felt like it because not only does he get to beat 10, not only does he get to be Roosh's asshole over Jacksonville, but he will walk out as champion. And Roosh says that when you mess with the bull, you get the horn. So this leads into the AEW All-Atlantic Championship 3-way match, Orange Cassidy versus Roosh versus 10. And right away, 10 and Roosh go at it. 10 was accompanied to the ring by -1. And Orange Cassidy was just chilling onto the side, letting them just go at it. Cassidy doing his typical Orange Cassidy kicks, which I thought was hilarious. Oh my god, talk about a headbutt to Orange Cassidy by Roosh. At some point, they go to the outside and you can see Roosh throw something at 10. I don't know what it was. It looked like he threw something. And then under the rope, under the ring, he grabs some rope and he chokes 10 with it. And then he also ends up choking Orange Cassidy with that same rope. Now, Jose the assistant gets involved in this because there's no DQ match. And then Danhausen curses Jose the assistant and punches him. So another one spot that I liked during this match was when Roosh and 10 try to slam Orange Cassidy into the timekeeper's area. I thought it was hilarious because it reminds me of all the times the old WWE Spanish announce table would get broken. It seems like the timekeeper's area always gets busted here. Now, Orange Cassidy ends up hitting Roosh with the orange punch, then the back body drop to 10, and he pins 10, and Orange Cassidy is victorious here. And as everybody's leaving, Roosh and 10 have a stare down on the ramp, and -1 walks to 10, and then Cassidy and Danhausen are standing in the ring, and that is how Rampage ends. Over a pretty decent Rampage, I thought it was a good show. There's not really one thing I disliked about it. I did think that as much as I liked the titles versus the trademark match, I did feel that was a little predictable. I think it was pretty obvious the Acclaimed was going to win that. And as well as the FTW Championship match, I feel like Hook was going to win that too. So it's a little bit predictable, which I don't mind predictability as long as it's a good match. And both of those matches, despite being predictable, were definitely good matches. And the main event was pretty good too. I wasn't sure if Orange Cassidy was going to walk out as champion, but he did. So overall, this was not as strong as a Rampage as it used to be, But it's still a good Rampage, so I give it an 8 out of 10. And that concludes the AEW Rampage review. So now let's talk about everyone's favorite Friday night show, Friday Night Smackdown, which kicked things off with Sheamus versus Solo Sikoa. So right before this match starts, you get a Bray Wyatt promo that says, "I'm here." And so Sheamus and Solo Sikoa immediately lock heads here. Now, throughout this whole match, Solo Sikoa is targeting Sheamus's left arm. And like that left arm goes into steel steps. One of the things that I thought was so hilarious was that Sheamus was like lying in the corner of the ring. Sami Zayn was just pointing at him and he was laughing. And if you look very closely, you could tell he almost fell, which I thought was so hilarious. So Sikoa takes 2 clotheslines, and Sheamus hits the white nose despite the fact that his left shoulder was injured. I really like that Samoan drop from the second rope to Sheamus, who landed on his bad shoulder. You could tell Solo Sikoa did that on purpose. He made sure Sheamus landed on his left shoulder. Now, of course, Sami Zayn was going to distract the referee. And, oh my God, so of course the Brawling Boots and the Usos went at it on the outside. The Usos trapping the Brawling Boots under the announce table. And Sheamus ended up taking out the Usos, but because of that, it allowed Solo Sikoa to hit the spinning solo, allowing him to be victorious. Then, of course, there's a post-match assault. They trap Sheamus on the steel steps, like Solo Sikoa and Sami Zayn are holding him. They put his left arm into the steel chair, and then Jay is just hitting him with another steel chair until Sami Zayn calls off the attack. So it was revealed that he was taken to a hospital, and I think he had suffered an injury. Granted, I'm not sure this injury is legit or it's kayfabe. I think it's kayfabe, which is a way to kind of write out Sheamus and potentially set up a Bloodline versus the Brawling Brutes War Games match at Survivor Series. We just have to wait and see where they go with this, but I'm pretty sure that's where they're going. We get a quick backstage segment with Rey Mysterio, and he's talking to Ludwig, Káiser, and Giovanni Vinci. And he basically makes it known that if he has anything to say, he would say to Gunter's face. And he says, "Orale, homie," which I thought was hilarious. And he says the SmackDown is a new beginning for Rey, and that if he wants to throw it down, he challenges Ludwig Káiser to a match. First time match between two of them. So I like how they use that promo to set up the match later on in the evening. All right, let's talk about this Bray Wyatt promo. So he's basically apologizing for last week. If you remember, SmackDown pretty much ended on a cliffhanger. He says he didn't get to finish what he was saying. And he says revenge is a confess. He's talking about something about revenge, and he confesses that he is in pain. He says he feels like confessing something to us today. He goes on to say he has problems. He's always had problems, and there's a few like them. And he says anger takes some places he doesn't want to go. Chances that most people don't get. This time he was happy and content with being left alone. He wanted to be left alone, but confesses he is happy he wasn't. And he pretty much ends it with, it says, "I confess that along this journey, I am going to do horrible things and I will never regret them. I am a servant now. I go where the circle takes me," which is interesting that he says that because there's so many speculations as to what this Wyatt 6 is. Is it a faction? Is it the 6 different personalities of Bray Wyatt? Is it both? What do you guys think it is? A faction, different personalities? It's just so interesting. I wonder what he meant by this. He goes wherever the circle takes me. It could probably be that little symbol that we saw leading up to his debut at Extreme Rules. So very interesting. I'm very intrigued. I really love that they added like rock music to this. His presentation has just been phenomenal. But what a stark contrast that we get that what follows this. It's a Bloodline segment, which you get something that goes from being dark like Bray Wyatt to something being upbeat and hilarious like this Bloodline segment that happened right after. So you have Sami Zayn and Jimmy Uso celebrating backstage, and Solo Sikoa is just like sitting down on the couch. And Sami starts talking about how Solo Sikoa has been an absolute gem since he joined the Bloodline. And Sami thinks that their work is done. Of course, Jey Uso disagrees because Logan Paul is scheduled to be here tonight. And Sami makes it a point to say that Roman doesn't want them to engage Logan Paul, and Jay's like, he starts calling himself a hothead, and we'll see by the end of the night what really happens. And then Jimmy, you got him saying, my dog. So I like this because, again, it adds to that tension between Jey Uso and Sami Zayn. It adds, like, Sami Zayn says their work is done and not to get involved with Logan Paul, but Jey Uso wants to take out Logan Paul for Roman Reigns. So you get a very quick match between Liv Morgan and Sonya Deville. Interesting that Liv Morgan comes out wearing Harley Quinn colors. She even has a little Harley Quinn like makeup right here. And she has the colors and everything. And this match ends in a double count out. And like Liv is smiling. She's like gone bonkers or something. She's smiling. She stacks chairs and she gives poor Sonya Deville a superplex on the chairs. But she also ends up landing on those chairs. So I feel like maybe she might join the Bray Wyatt. Maybe instead of having Alexa Bliss, they're gonna have Liv Morgan. But seeing where they're going to go with this. I mean, they told Liv she was in Extreme. She tried to prove that she's Extreme, and now it feels like she's gone totally bonkers. So we get an Omos and Braun Strowman face-to-face segment. The whole point of this was that Braun Strowman challenged Omos to a match at Crown Jewel. And MVP accepts, and then Omos comes out and shows Braun Strowman. Now, this is either going to be a train wreck, or it's going to be a somewhat decent match. I mean, Omos shoved Braun Strowman, but I don't think Omos is going to win. I think Braun Strowman's going to go over. It'd be interesting to see if they would put Omos over. I don't think he is. Definitely think Strowman is taking this. Strowman should definitely take it. But I think Omos is done after this match. I think he's done. I think it would be over for Omos if he loses this match to Strowman, which he probably is. So it's going to be a train wreck to watch. I'd say that. Or a car wreck. A disaster. It's not going to be match of the night, that's for sure. Then they're probably going to gimmick that ring. So we get a quick backstage segment with Drew McIntyre, who again was responsible for putting Karrion Kross into a car accident. And basically the whole gist of this is that we find out we're going to get a steel cage match at Crown Jewel, Karrion Kross versus Drew McIntyre. Then we get the women's tag team title match. It's Damage Control versus Shotzi and Raquel Rodriguez. Well, I have to say, like, I really like the fact that Raquel Rodriguez and Io Sky started off the match because there's history there. I mean, Raquel Rodriguez was the one who took the NXT women's title off Io Sky. And I was actually worried for a second that Damage Control would lose this match because at some point, Shotzi and Raquel Rodriguez had the advantage. But I'm really, really glad Damage Control won this match. I don't think that they should have lost the tag titles just yet. I mean, you took them off of Aaliyah and Raquel Rodriguez, but they need to keep those titles on. You need to have more title defenses, and they need to have, I don't want to say a lengthy reign, but a somewhat decent long reign, so those titles could mean something and not just be props like they used to. So we get we get a Ronda Rousey segment, and she's basically going to issue an open challenge, but she's not doing it to give it for the WWE Universe. She's doing it to prove that she is the best. And she says she gave the WWE Universe everything that she had, and they hated her for it. She said that they want their favorites to win, but are stuck with the best. And that next week, there's going to be an open challenge. So I actually really like this heel turn of Ronda Rousey. I think it suits her. She should have always been a heel from the beginning. I don't know why they try to make her a face. But now it seems like she's a badass being a heel. And she should just run through. Well, actually, no, I don't think she should run through the women's division. But she should have been heel from the get-go. Being heel really suits her. It really does. Again, I don't know why she was ever a face to begin with. So we get a Bray Wyatt vignette. And it's okay, so there's a barcode, a QR code that appeared on there. And it basically ends with this. Now, I know it was reported by Mike Johnson, the PWI insider, that Dutch and Vincent from The Righteous were backstage on Monday Night Raw. So I wonder who this is. This doesn't look like Bray Wyatt. This looks like somebody else. Could it be Dutch? Could it be Vincent? This is Howdy, it seems like it, because it says it ends with Howdy. So who do you guys think this is? Whoever this is, this looks like prosthetics right here. So we'll just have to wait. I guess we have to wait and give me 1 second. I was saying, who do you guys think this is? I don't think this is Bray Wyatt. We don't even know. For all we know, this could just be a random wrestler that has nothing to do with with Bray Wyatt's faction, and it could just be a character. And then the QR code also led to this. If you call that number right there, you can't zoom in on this, but if you call that that client ID number, it actually leads. It leads to someone says, "Oh no, not me. I never lost control," which are the lyrics to David Bowie's "The Man Who Sold the World," which was covered by Nirvana. I actually really like that cover. Sometimes I don't like cover songs, but Nirvana's cover of "The Man Who Sold the World" was actually pretty good. I actually like it. So again, leads me to think, like, what are they doing with Bray Wyatt? I am actually really intrigued by this whole Bray Wyatt stuff, and I cannot wait to see how it turns out. But who do you guys think? Like, what do you guys think of this whole Bray Wyatt thing? Do you guys like it? Do you guys not like it? Like, what do you guys think it is? Factions, split personalities? Are we gonna have members revealed? Like, when? We're gonna quick Legado del Fantasma segment, and you have Santos Escobar basically talking about how his family business is growing to an empire, and their latest acquisition ends up being Selena Vega. She says that they have no peers, no competition, and are head and shoulders above the rest. And that their legacy on SmackDown will begin by them destroying Hit Row. And BFAB says she has a plan. And we found out that next week it's going to be Hit Row versus Legado del Fantasma with a mystery partner. Who do you guys think is going to be that mystery partner? I personally think it's going to be Carmelo Hayes, just because I think it was reported that Shawn Michaels thinks Carmelo Hayes is ready for the main roster. So I honestly think it's Carmelo Hayes. I can't think of anybody else. As we know, Swerve Strickland is on AEW, so it's obviously not him. But I can't think of anybody else besides Carmelo Hayes. But who do you guys think is the mystery partner? Let me know in the comment section down below. But yeah, Rey Mysterio versus Ludwig Káiser is actually a good match. I really enjoyed this. My favorite spots in this match were the Eddie Guerrero tributes. Rey Mysterio doing the whole chest thing that Eddie Guerrero would do. Absolutely love the fact that he went outside and he threw he had like a chair and Gunter hit that chair. And then Rey Mysterio played possum, taking a page out of Eddie Guerrero's old playbook. And it got Gunter and Giovanni Vinci sent to the back. They got ejected out of there. And the crowd just starts chanting, "Eddie, Eddie," which I thought was so hilarious. And Rey Mysterio ends up winning this with a 6-1-9. It was actually a really good match. I actually really enjoyed it. Absolutely love that. All right. So, to close the show, we get a Logan Paul segment, and he starts talking about how he feels so good to be back in Ohio, and that he's been doubted his whole life, and look where he is now. He starts talking about how he doesn't need Heyman or anybody to protect him. He runs his mouth a lot because he's confident, and he understands he's the underdog going into this fight, and because no one is expecting him to win. Again, he starts talking about how he's going to turn the tribal chief into a cleanup crew. Then Jey Uso out of nowhere attacks Logan Paul. Sami Zayn comes down, tries to stop Jey, and he tells him he shouldn't have done this. And because of that, Logan Paul gets a lucky shot and takes out Jey Uso. And Sami Zayn is just like looking at him in disbelief. And we also found out that SmackDown will be on FS1 next week. So overall, good SmackDown. I wasn't too keen with Logan Paul closing the show. I understand why, because it builds his feud with Roman Reigns at Crown Jewel. And again, it adds to storyline with Sami Zayn and Jey Uso, as Sami had previously told Jey Uso earlier in the night not to attack Logan Paul. And here we have Jey Uso attacking Logan Paul and Sami Zayn trying to stop him. But then again, because of Sami Zayn trying to stop him, he got taken out by Logan Paul. So obviously Roman Reigns is not going to be too happy about that. So we're going to see who Roman Reigns is mad at more, Sami Zayn or Jey Uso. But again, maybe this would have been a segment. I can see why they did this. They needed to have that Solo Sikoa Sheamus match first to have that segment with the Bloodline backstage and then this. So I guess it makes sense storyline wise why this went on last. But I personally didn't think it should have closed SmackDown. A good SmackDown. Not as, like I said, I disagree with Logan Paul closing the show, but I get it. But I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. I thought both SmackDown and Rampage were equally just as good. I don't think one was stronger than the other. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section down below. But with that being said, you guys, thank you guys all so much for watching and for the continuous support. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Make sure you hit that bell so you're notified whenever I go live or release a new video. And I'll see you guys Monday after Monday Night Raw. Bye.